Attention carriers, brokers, and dispatchers. You're tuned into the eCarrierCheck channel, where we bring you the insider tips, tricks, and insights to drive your sales and logistics business to new heights. Each week, your hosts, Jared and Nate, sit down with the top professionals in the industry, diving deep into everything from prospecting and cold calling to maintaining carrier relationships and maximizing your bottom line. Learn real-world strategies, hear success stories, and get actionable advice you can implement in your business today. So buckle up and get ready for an entertaining and informative ride. This is the eCarrierCheck channel, your source for can't-miss logistics intelligence. Stay tuned.
Hey, good afternoon, and welcome back to the eCarrierCheck show. Jared and Nate here. We got a special guest today, Chris Jolly, aka the Freight Coach, aka the GOAT, aka the man, the myth, the legend, aka I can go on. Anyways, super glad to see everyone again today. We took last week off. We're in a new studio. You can't really tell, but we're excited in the new studio. And I'm excited to talk sales today with the Freight Coach. Before we jump into that, though, at least the sales talk, the Freight Coach, you were at TIA. Give us a few takeaways that you had from the conference.
Dude, it's action-packed when you go to any of those events, right? Like, I'm just more of when I'm there, I try and be as much of a sponge as possible because there are people from all walks of the industry, who are, founders of a couple $100+ million operations and stuff like that. And then there's the ones that are, just kind of starting up and then everywhere in between. So it's like just to be able to walk around and meet as many people as possible and just network and really just kind of try and improve, right? Like, it doesn't matter how long I've been doing this, man. I'm always open ears for anybody that can help me get better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the conferences are so interesting because everyone, they get done on Fridays, Saturdays, and then all of a sudden you're like, what do we do Monday? What did you do Monday with the info, the contacts, what was Monday like for you? That's the question of the day, because I think this is the meat right here, guys.
For me, Monday, I did what I always do, right? Like, I am a creature of habit, and I am out here and I follow the same system like as much as I possibly can, right? And the joys of building a business is like you have this system, you're following it, and then like the real world sets in, and a bunch of shit happens, and then like you have to take a step back to kind of recalibrate, get more efficient with the increase in workload, and then you can kind of pull those levers a little bit. And I think, like, for me, it's like, dude, I just showed up on Monday and I did what I always do, right? Like, I from the outside looking in, I operate a very boring, predictable system, but it's effective, right? And it works for me. So I came in, I did my 55 cold calls like I always do. I moved freight. I talk my shit on my podcast like I always do. And that was kind of it, man. Like, I didn't do anything different because I'm in a building phase in my companies, right? So it's like there's no need to change anything because we're getting growth. We're onboarding new shippers. We're moving more freight, but it's more along the lines of like, we got to just get a little bit more efficient with our output. So that's kind of all I really pay attention to.
I love that. I think that, something that I'm jacked for today is just the way that you have been able to work from, some of the tactics that worked in 2017. Chris has been around in freight as long as I have. This cat is way older than I am. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But this guy's been in the same world as I have. He just lived in a different friggin' part of the world. But we literally 08, 09, we got into freight. Am I correct on that, Chris?
Yeah. I started out on the asset side in 2008. So
yeah, exactly. We did the exact same thing. We've had the exact same journey. And I think what I think is probably most interesting thing, when I first met you, when I met you like 6 months into eCarrierCheck and building this thing, and you were grinding, I was grinding, doing what we do. But you always seem to be able to just kind of adapt to the times. You know what I mean? And you're wildly good at adapting to the times. And I think this is, when we're talking sales, we're talking, how have you been able to adapt to the times? Because it used to be way easier to get freight.
oh, dude.
And then all of a sudden we got real hard, and now nobody trusts anybody. You've got some interesting stuff. Give us a rundown on how you've been able to stay in that motion where you're able to adapt the way you do.
Because I make all the mistakes that everybody else does, right? I've just come to realize that when something's not working, I try and change as fast as possible. It's a lot easier said than done when you're sitting in a controlled environment like we are right now. But we wasted, and I say wasted because it's a joke. We wasted 15 months of when we first started our brokerage doing just email sales. And did it work? Slightly. Yeah. We got a couple, but nothing like the ROI of cold calling, and it just like, I just hate the passive aggressive, social selling that comes along with like DMing people and emailing them because they can just block you, right? Like I look at it like this. If you're going to tell me, no, fucking tell it to my face, dude. Like, let's not go down this whole, I'm going to email you for a year and then you're going to like, block. And it's just like, what the fuck, So to the point where I'm like, it was 15 months. We had a little traction, not a ton. And I'm like, all right, we're done. I'm like, pick up the phone, get in front of people. And we did that. And then boom, things started to take off. Now, to Jared, your point, it used to be pre-COVID, it used to be once you get a shipper on the phone, you can have like 2 good conversations with somebody. They're going to give you a prove it shipment. They're going to be like, all right, smart ass, let's see if you actually are who you say you are. Now, dude, it's like years. It's years because they don't need you. And that's where we're at with capacity. I'm of the camp of reality that there is no driver shortage that's out there. Capacity is still very, very prevalent in most markets. So there's no need to change, because if you're failing on freight right now, man, you might want to check your career path here. Because it's like, there's a lot of trucks that are out there, even on the tough to cover lanes. It might take you a little bit longer to cover, but you can get it done. And that is the main difference right now is people don't need to change, so they're not going to. Just like I'm not an anomaly when I say I'm a creature of habit. Most people are. Once you're comfortable, you stay in that zone.
Yeah, I freaking love that.
Yeah, and there's something about confidence too. Jared and I obviously don't broker, but we talk to brokers daily. And at the end of the day, I think it just comes down to confidence when you're on the phone. If you don't believe in what you're doing, it's going to be super hard to at least let them feel that. And, the best that we try to do is help people listen to your cold calls and things like that. But, what helped you build confidence? Was it just making the calls, like those 50 calls like you're doing now? That's kind of what I figured. You know what I mean? Like, and then taking the no, like how do you feel, or how do you get past that no, that rejection?
Dude, so to get better at anything, it's all about repetitions for me. Like if you want to get better at cold calling, you just got to make more cold calls. And, for people out there who are watching this live or listening to this, they don't remember you after you call them, right? Yeah. Like and this was like a profound realization to me because, like we're all our own main characters in our lives, right? We are our most important character in our lives. So are they, right? Like they got their own shit going on, man. They probably got a pissed off spouse. Maybe their boss is wearing them out. Like something's going on in their life where they don't remember you, right? So it's like for anybody that has cold call anxiety that comes out there, are you going to suck? Probably. But I did too. Hell, I still fucking trip over my words. I've been cold calling for 15 years. I still lose my train of thought when I'm on there. I still have people hang up the phone on me. But here's one thing that I want people to understand. Jared, you brought this up about being prepared. Nate, you were talking about confidence on the phone as well. If you exude all of that on the phone, like you've done your research on your prospect, I have found that the rejections are a lot softer, right? Because they can tell you prepared. Like the tonality shifts and they're almost like, hey man, listen, like we're good right now. We don't need anything. And I will go as far as asking them, hey, you know what? We're like, I completely understand. I want to be respectful of you and your operation. Would it be best if I just removed you from our list? More times than not, they're like, no, man, you can check back in like 6 months. That's fine. So it's like you're just humanizing that interaction, but it all starts with the fact that like I actually know who I'm calling and why I'm calling them.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I love
preparation is
that.
key for sure.
I think that's such an interesting, point to rejection is being prepared. I mean, obviously preparation builds confidence anyway, but having that, saying that within that cold call is so friggin' key. I love that.
Yeah.
They won't remember that they hung up on you last week.
Yeah,
No, they
they
really
won't.
won't,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, the people who hung up on me this morning don't remember me.
Yeah, they don't care. Yeah, they don't care. Chris, I think something that's interesting too that you've mentioned multiple times is going out and doing this in person. I talked to you 6 months ago, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to do a bunch of traveling to meet clients," and I was like, "God, I love that." If you're a broker right now, a lot of people just think, "Well, I have to live on my living room." I got to live in the office. Talk us about that function, because I came from outside sales. I was an LTL outside salesman. I went door to door, handed out my flyers, and did what I did in order to friggin' grow the knowledge that I needed to be able to do this. But talk to us about how much different is it to go in person?
I think people respect it a lot more, especially now when everybody is trying to be digital and hands off with it. So like our approach is we just call ahead, right? Like I don't cold stop in somewhere because like, I don't know, man, I'd be pretty pissed if somebody just like randomly showed up to my office and was like, hey man, I want to talk to you. We've found a big difference in like calling the day before, right? Like, so today's Wednesday. Hey, I'm a local, I'm hoping to swing by and introduce myself, drop off a card and just shake your hand. And like more times than not, people are open to that, right? And I also think it's another one of those things where people aren't willing to do that, right? And I want easy too, like I would love to have an easy revenue stream where like I didn't have to actually work for anything, but I also live in reality and understand that that doesn't exist. And like people are gonna like there's competition in every industry, right? Like I don't know why freight people think that we're so special that we're the only ones that there's competition in. Where it's like, dude, you got to stand out. And furthermore, man, I'm glad that there's 20 some thousand brokers that are out there in the market that I'm competing against, because I know for a fact they're not going to do what I'm going to do. I see it all the time. I hear it all the time. And it's like, man, if you're not willing to spend $50 on a tank of gas, or, if you're in California, it's 500, but if you're not willing to do that and drive around and meet people, if you're not willing to do what it takes, like people aren't going to need you. Right. But again, it's like they get hundreds of cold calls a week. Who are they going to remember? They're not going to remember my voicemail, but they're going to remember me if I walk in and shake their hand and be like, hey, here, I'm a real person. All right. It's like, and it really humanizes it, because more people than not are not like inherently assholes. You know what I mean? Like they respect it a lot more when you walk through their front door.
Yeah, I think it's easier to kind of be an asshole over the phone because you can just hang up on them, right? Then in person, it's a little bit harder. But I see the struggle where it's like that second follow up, right? You have that first maybe in person visit or that first sales call.
Yeah,
a lot of the struggle I've been seeing, Chris, is like that. Okay, what's that second call sound like? How do I provide value instead of hey, I'm following up, or hey, we talked last week, if you remember. What's that second call? What should that sound like?
I have it be business is all business for a long time, right? Like I don't believe in building rapport. I know some people are like, oh, become their best friend. I at a point in my life where I don't need any more friends, right? Like I'm good. Like, so it's like, if you're going to build trust in me, if you're going to trust me to move millions of dollars worth of your freight, I need to build your confidence in my ability to actually execute what I'm doing. So it's like, for me, I want to talk more about where are things going, like, hey, when it's going in, and again, this is the beauty of doing a niche based operation, right? Like we just do open deck and heavy haul. I do not touch food. I don't touch LTL, none of that stuff. And my thing is like, I want to know as much about their operation before they hit send on that first tender to me that I possibly can. So, again, the first couple of times, man, you just got to get them to remember your name. That's
Yeah.
why it's like, I focus on the fundamentals more than anything, where it's like my follow-up calls are always, hey, we talked back on the 8th of April, for example. I do like a 3-week in between, unless they tell me, hey, don't call me until July, I'll call them in July. But otherwise, I'm reaching out every 3 weeks. I try and get that cadence down with it. And again, it's like, hey, we talked on this day, just a brief overview of what we talked about. I'm trying to like trigger their memory of like, who the hell is this person, But then again, I'm going to hit them with something like, hey, when we were first talking, this specific commodity, you had mentioned, job site deliveries. Is there ever a crane? Do we ever need to organize a crane and a rigging crew? Like I try and hit them with something like that. And again, it's very business first. I want them to understand like, holy shit, this guy actually knows what they're talking about. And then keep it like that. Like, dude, we can become friends later. Like I've been working with some people for a couple of years and like, dude, we just text, like they text me loads and stuff like that. And it's like, we've met up, we've been in person, we built that trust, but that takes a long time. And I feel like people kind of reverse it and they're like, well, let me just become best friends. Let me ask them about golf and sports teams and all this other stuff. And I get that, but like there's a time and a place. And I just think that, the difference between the markets that used to be and what they are now, man, they don't need you. So how can you make them want you? And I feel like make them understand you are different in the fact like you are researched on them, their product, commodity, you have a resemblance of familiarity with how their operation might be, and just kind of piece that puzzle together.
Yeah. You and Jared definitely think alike. I really like that point about the crane on site situation. Those are really good questions. That's the hardest thing, is figuring out what kind of questions can I ask that just kind of that mean more to them, right?
Yeah.
A business question. So I think that's where a lot of people struggle. And if you're struggling with that, I think you need to do a little bit more, maybe some research on that company and really figure out what you need to be asking. And it's tough. I get it.
Absolutely. You know what, Chris, the one thing that I've always enjoyed about you is just you're a long-term thinker. You don't necessarily, when I met you the first time, you were smashing out the Freight Coach, the podcast, doing what you do. And I think you did even consulting back in the day. Like you were doing some crazy stuff, which I thought was awesome. And then you transition, you're like, this is it. I'm going to be a broker. I know what I'm doing. Let's go get this done. I'm going to do it on my own. How important is it? Because our show has a lot of new people in this industry, which is fun. I like to deal with them. How important is it to really kind of set some of your principles and some of your values and some of those things that you run by to start prior to getting into some of the short-term stuff? I know a lot of people are just chasing revenue and they're just chasing a shipper and they're just chasing the next load. And it's like, just take a second and think about, what that goal is. But how have you kind of dictated the long-term path that you have? Because it's wild to watch your growth. It's wild to watch the way you do things. And I've really enjoyed watching just everything that you do, because it's very intentional. Everything is very intentional.
For me, it's being self-employed. I need revenue 12 months out of the year, right? Like I need to build up as much consistency as I possibly can, right? Because I don't get a direct deposit every 2 weeks, So it's like my mindset isn't how do I make as much money today? Like I a capitalist unapologetically. I fucking love making money, but like I need to make it consistently throughout the year, because there's a lot of ebbs and flows in business, right? And like you reach certain levels, and and I also try and understand that like, hey, when things are good, they can also get bad. So I need to be smart about how I operate and my mindset. I need to remove the transaction and think like, all right, what can I do today to make sure that I have this customer next month? Because that short-term knee-jerk reaction has costed me more business than it's kept. And I need to understand that like, hey, at times, it sucks if I lose money on a shipment, right? contrary to popular belief out there, you don't always make money on the freight that you move. But you know, it sucks to lose money, but I also understand how hard it is to get somebody's business. And am I going to really risk never seeing another shipment with somebody because I don't want to lose $100 or $200 on a load? I won't take that gamble. Not in this market, you know, not in any market really, you know, because it's like I am not in the business of just Chris Jolly winning, because if that was the case, I mean, dude, I could get some real short-term bumps and everything would be good, but like there's no sustainability with that, right? Like I need to make sure my customers win, my carriers definitely got to win, and I have to win, right? I need to find that balance that comes along with it. And you know what? There's some times where it's like, for me, when it comes down to it, especially on the carrier side of things, like if there's any accessorials, dude, like I will pay them before my customer even approves it, right? Like I'm not gonna like, hold on, let me see if I can get that approved. Fuck that, man. My customer knows if there's a layover, I'm sending them a Raycon right away. Here's your layover. I'm gonna request it from my customer. If my customer doesn't approve it for whatever reason, which they very ever rarely don't, you know, they're always usually approving that stuff. That makes me wonder, do I even want to work with that shipper anymore? Like if they're not willing to do that, you know? So it's like, I try and take that approach to things. Sometimes if it's my fault, I'm going to own it. I'm going to do it. And if I quote something to a customer and I'm off, it's on me. It's not their fault.
Yeah, I love that. I think, honestly, I think a lot of people need to kind of keep that in mind, you know, because everyone's chasing, like, I got to get cash. I got to get cash. Everyone we talk to, I got to get a shipper. I got to get a shipper. And I'm like, I need you to stop and think about, you know, what is the shipper thinking? What are they trying to think through? What are their worries?
Well, a lot of the times too, we're comparing ourselves. And Chris, you posted something, I believe, yesterday about, you know, not being where you should be. And I screenshot it because I appreciated it. But you know, you worried some of your adulthood worrying about where I'm not. You know, and I think a lot of people compare themselves to too many people on LinkedIn and saying, you know, hey, this is my first 6 months as a broker, and I got my first shipper, and someone that's been, you know, cold calling for 2 years and has yet to find someone. There's a lot of comparing going on in this industry, and it's really driving people's motivation and confidence down.
So here's a maybe an unspoken truth about social media, guys. 99% of it's bullshit. It's all fucking made up facade, smoke and mirrors. You know, it's really so. Here's one thing people need to realize: you can buy engagement on social media. All right. You can buy downloads, you can buy followers, you can buy all of that shit. So if you can buy and purchase all of that, what else? What's real? You know? And like, and I am sitting here and stating, I will open up my books to anybody. I have never paid for any false engagement on my content. All right. You can fucking look at my P&L for the last 5 years. I've never paid for that shit. Because like, I don't pay attention to like what a lot of people boast about, right? Because like, the most successful people I know who are like verifiable 7-figure earners do not want you to know how much money they have or how much money they're making. They are very kind of reclusive. They're like, because they don't need to brag, right? Like when you're actually doing shit, you don't need to fucking brag about what you know, want the world to know that you're doing.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you, Bill. I think a lot of people on LinkedIn lie and exaggerate. I 100% agree. Yeah.
I think just comparison is tough as a person, as a human. You know, my kids, this is kind of an interesting time in my kids' life. You know, it's puberty time. And you know, they just started school sports, you know, and my son, who is a very entertaining kid, he's doing shot and disc this year. And he can't, I mean, he's terrible at it. Like, I'm like, you know,
I hope he doesn't watch this.
Yeah, it's okay. He knows. But, you know, it's interesting. I just kind of keep telling him, I'm like, hey, buddy, you know, I know that there's a kid that's been throwing, he did junior Olympics or something. This kid's been throwing shot and disc in his class since he was like 6.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here's the thing. All you have to do is beat your last throw. Just beat you. You know what I mean? Like, just go in, and the only person you're competing with is yourself. It doesn't matter what the hell everyone else did. Did you show up and beat what you did? And honestly, that can be done and measured in sales calls, in trucking, in conversations. Now it's hard to kind of put it, we're not throwing 25 feet for shot put, but what you can do is say, you know what, I got 15 more words in this call than I did before, or I had better questions this time than I did before, or that one actually seemed to matter, or I only got told effed off once today.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's ways to measure, and I think, honestly, if people that are watching this that are in the sales world or own their own brokerage or an agent, because that's pretty much owning your own place, man, I tell you what, don't compare yourself to others, because it's so important, because you can just get burned up in the weeds.
Yeah, you become your own worst enemy when that happens, right? And it's like I not to sound like a motivational poster, but it's like it is literally you versus you when you're out there, and you need to like everybody has to create a baseline, right? Like we all suck right away when we first start. Everybody sucks. All right. This is also one of the main reasons why I keep all of my content out there for everyone to see, because I want people to see where things started to where things are, right?
I like that.
That doesn't come overnight. And I feel like if you're out there and you're trying to build up consistency, like I feel like if you and I just did at the TIA, I just did an entire presentation about building a sales system for you to follow. And it's like, if you've never made 25 calls in a day, say your only purpose, you're not moving freight, start with 25. All right. Make 25 cold calls in a day. It might take you 3 hours to get those 25 cold calls, because you know what? You're nervous. A couple of them might get like, I'm a human being too. I get pissed off about shit as well. Right. But make sure you get those 25 cold calls in a day, and do that for a month. All right. Commit to doing that for a month. And then next month, but what you'll see is like day 1, it'll take you 3 hours. By day 30, dude, it's probably down to like 2, maybe an hour and a half, because you're building up that system. And once you hit there, then add 5. Just go to 30. Don't go to 50. Don't go to 70. Just add 5 and commit to that, because what you're doing is you're building up that discipline of doing it every single day. You're becoming more efficient with it. And that's all you need to focus in on, is focus in on your internal processes. How do you get a little bit more efficient to make sure that you can increase your output? Because as a sales rep, as a business owner, for the overwhelming majority of the time, you need revenue, you need growth. Focus on your outputs and how you become more efficient.
Yeah. I mean,
that's huge. I can't wait to clip that.
It's a good show, guys.
Bella says, I feel good when a rejection isn't as bad as I always think it's gonna be. Yeah.
It's never as bad as you think, right? Like I out of the last year, I've never had one person curse at me. I had only one person hang up when I was in the middle of didn't even say not interested, just hung up. The 99% of my interactions are positive and like passive rejections, right? It's not, and that's, I would say that's the big difference between when I cold called pre-COVID and what I do now. The rejections are not as bad. Maybe I don't fucking care as much anymore when somebody tells me no. Maybe it's because I'm just older, but like, for anybody out there who has any anxiety, like literally, I am very confident in this statistic. 90% of the time, people aren't even going to answer the phone. It's going to go straight to voicemail. They're not going to answer. The 10% that a gatekeeper answers the phone, they're going to tell you, hey, we're not interested. Have a good day. Hang up the phone. And in that time, if they do transfer you back and you do get the actual decision maker on the phone, it is so rare that you better be prepared and actually have that elevator speech dialed in, right? But it's like for the overwhelming majority amount of time, it'll go to voicemail. Everything's automated now. And, there's just not a lot of interaction, where it's like, for the most part, the rejections are very soft. Like, hey, we're good right now. Thank you. And then they'll hang up. Yep. That's a positive.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I know you're the freight coach. Do you still find yourself kind of in that student mindset? Like you're always trying to learn or just trying to grow?
Yeah. every day,
Every day.
man. Like, dude, once this is all resolved, I will make some content of my own kind of explaining it. But I'm going through something right now that I fucking never thought was going to be possible in my 15 years of doing this job. But here we are. We're working through it. And once it's done, I'll talk a little bit more about it. But yeah, man, you're never good. Like, training and development to me is a lifelong commitment. Like, you're never good. Like, I hate to break it to you. You might have a good month, you might have a good year, but you're never good enough. If you're a high performer, you're never fucking good enough, you know?
Yeah.
And again, if you're not, if you get to a point where you're making what you want and you're comfortable and you're good, congratulations. But like, you're still not good enough because somebody could come in and fucking eat your lunch. Like, it is a dog eat dog world out there.
Oh gosh, it really is. I mean, what's super nice about like this industry that I've noticed is you got, the Freight Coach, eCarrierCheck, you got Samantha Jones, you got DIY 7. You have all these podcasts that put out so much free information. And what I love about all of us is that we're just kind of talking about the struggles that we've been through and, just the things that kind of brought us down to make us who we are. So, I really, again, appreciate you just putting out so much content. If anyone's not watching your content, go connect with, Chris Jolly, the Freight Coach, on LinkedIn and subscribe. Are you on Spotify too as well?
Yeah. iTunes,
so, yeah.
Spotify, YouTube. Just look for the Freight Coach on there, the Freight Coach podcast. That's where you can find it. We go live every weekday. And again, we talk from all sides of the industry, right? Like, we talk tech, assets. We want to talk to drivers. We want to talk to insurance. We have lawyers come on. We have everybody come on because, like, I just want to have a baseline of education for people to follow where, they can tune in and not think that they're getting sold on anything. And, as a bootstrap founder myself, there's a lot of mistakes that I've made and will continue to make. And like, I want to have a like kind of like a track record for people, not a track record, but like a library of information that is freight specific that people can kind of tune into, get some value, and go out and, improve their business.
God, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, good stuff, Chris, man. I'm going to close this out today. Chris, I really appreciate you coming on, just shedding some quick, details on how to just find yourself in this industry. It is tough, man. It is what you make. If you're going to wake up and just be pissed off because you got to make 20 phone calls today, you're going to be pissed off the rest of the day. So try to wake up with a good attitude out there, guys. Like I said, go connect with the Freight Coach. Go search him everywhere. He's everywhere, always putting out content. Chris Jolly, thank you so much again, brother. We will touch base next time. I believe we're going on your show, pretty soon. Coming up. So I can't wait to hop on.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to having you guys back on and shooting the shit like we do.
Oh yeah, man.
Sounds good, bro.
Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you Friday.